Okay, hello, Tom Maguire. I said I was going to review Pale Blue Dot, and that is exactly what I'm going to do right now. Just finished this book. Absolutely brilliant. I've been looking forward to this one for ages. It's been around for a while. It came out in 1994. It was Carl Sagan's sequel to Cosmos. Carl Sagan's a really interesting guy. You should look him up. There's loads of speeches taken from the book on YouTube, and they're set to really nice kind of space scenes, kind of showing how huge the universe is. It's really quite nice, really inspirational. They're kind of motivational speeches, basically. Really, really worth looking at. He was famous for making astronomy really kind of popular, and his books are brilliant, basically. So it's Pale Blue Dot, a vision of the human future in space, taken from the famous 1990 photo, the Pale Blue Dot, which was taken from Voyager 1 from 6 billion kilometers away. Absolutely crazy. And it's basically this picture of Earth looking like a tiny little pixel, and there's the darkness, and there's kind of like a beam of light going across, and you can just see Earth as a tiny little dot. And it's a sort of thing that if you think about it, it's really kind of quite mind blowing, really, just how absolutely tiny we are, suspended there. It's kind of freaky, but really interesting. Came out the same year as Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 hit Jupiter, and that was something that kind of showed us how dangerous comets could be. Obviously, something as big as Jupiter, however many times bigger it is than Earth, absolutely huge compared to Earth. And Jupiter absorbs lots of the dangerous comets that come our way. Its gravitational field kind of sucks them in and keeps them from coming towards us, which is pretty good, really, to say the least. But yeah, so Carl Sagan, one of the things he's arguing is how we need to kind of explore space, understand space in order to keep ourselves safe, basically. We can't just kind of pretend that there's nothing out there and just kind of huddle together on this tiny little bit of dust and kind of expect things to be okay, because we do have problems with global warming, and they talk about that. They talk about the danger from CFCs and stuff, sorry. And just how politics gets in the way, money, obviously, and unfortunately we're run by people who are quite often concerned with power and money and wealth and not too worried about what's going to happen in the future. So those of us who are concerned about the future and future generations and things, space exploration is really important. You've got the billionaire Elon Musk, who's talking about colonizing Mars and stuff, and it sounds like absolute craziness, but at the end of the day, people in the past said things that we consider to be crazy, and that's how things kind of move on. So it's all worth thinking about, and that's why these sort of books, I think, are personal development books for me personally, because they get me to sort of think outside of things. They get me to expand my mind. They get me to get an even stronger sense of perspective. It is frightening to think how small we are and how insignificant we are, but at the same time it kind of gives me a sense of hope as well, in that we don't know what's out there, and we don't know what's going to happen down the line, and who we could become in hundreds and thousands of years, how great we could become if we let go of our jealousies and our insecurities and our resentment and our bitterness, what we could achieve. I mean, those of us here now will never know, but it's good to think that we can kind of contribute. Well, we are contributing in some way. All the positive stuff that we do, all the negative stuff that we do doesn't help. But if we can try and keep the positive stuff going, then that's really important. So he talks a lot about how we've been travellers, hunter-gatherers for hundreds, thousands of years, and we've only really settled for a very short period of our existence. And he's kind of arguing that we have it in us to want to travel, to hit the open road, to explore new frontiers, but there's nowhere left really to explore now. And we're kind of always going to have that itch within us, almost something that's kind of in our DNA, which kind of makes sense, really, when you think about it. And he kind of suggests that, this is a brief period that we're in, and that the next phase will be that we start traveling again and getting out there and trying to explore space and trying to find other places that we can kind of make home, I suppose, so that one day when Earth isn't quite suitable anymore, that we can kind of carry on, possibly. And that's quite an amazing thing to think about, I think. They also talk about the fact that there's always that temptation on the negative side to gain a personal advantage here and there. So, you know, we like to be progressive, we like to move forward, but you'll always get people who want to take a few things for themselves and forward their own, their own desires and their own little bit of power and stuff. And that brings me back to one of the speeches they have on YouTube from Carl Sagan. He talks about that. He talks about, think of the bloodshed and the people who have tried to claim one tiny corner of the speck that we live on, just to sort of beat the other people on the other tiny corner, and how insignificant it is and how ridiculous and how much happy we are to kill each other, and just putting it all into perspective. And it's a really good speech. Look it up on YouTube. It's Carl Sagan. So I don't know, it's all kind of got me thinking in terms of, because obviously this is personal development, I'm really interested in potential, my own potential and other people's potential. That's why I'm a coach. And I just think, God, our potential is absolutely huge, isn't it? It's not only huge with us who are here now, what we're capable of doing if we put our minds to it, but actually down the generations as things go on, as we hundreds of years, thousands of years in the future, as we kind of improve, hopefully, what our potential will be then as well. And it got me thinking about one of my favourite films, based on the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Blade Runner, Ridley Scott's film, is it 1982? With the replicant Roy Batty, when at the end he does that speech. It's probably my favourite speech in any film ever. I just think it's lovely. It's slightly depressing, but it's kind of really beautiful in a way. And he says, and I haven't remembered this, I've got it written down, he says, "I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I've watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die." Because he's only got 4 years before he's a replicant, a cyborg, or what? Not a cyborg, a replicant. And so he's only got 4 years before he dies, and he dies there in front of old Harrison Ford. But it's just really nicely done, and it just gets you thinking, doesn't it? It's like he's not human, but he kind of looks like human, and he's seen these amazing things in space going on that are just kind of beyond our imagination, and we can't possibly understand. We're consumed with power and killing and our own sort of selfishness and stuff. And he just says, once he's gone, all those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. I just think that's quite a beautiful line, really. The whole thing's beautiful. The whole book, Pale Blue Dot, is brilliant. The whole idea of space and humanity and potential and all that stuff, I think it's brilliant. It's really good for personal development to try and get your head around that sort of stuff and think about it a little bit. And I couldn't recommend this book enough. Pale Blue Dot, absolutely superb. Carl Sagan, godsend. Listen to him as well. His voice is fantastic. He's got a real sort of distinctive, deep American accent. The Pale Blue Dot. It's brilliant. Really good. See you next time.